Welcome to this episode of the Civil War Digital Digest. We have Jackie Jacobs today, and we're looking at little girls' dresses, and she brought a wide range of her originals for us to take a look at. And I think it would be great to start with some of the age ranges that we have shown here. And we start all the way down at infant level. So tell me a little bit about what we have here.
Well, we do have a infant undergarment right here. This is like a little t-shirt. The t-shirt would have been put around the baby and straight pinned closed. And then a belly band put on around the belly to keep, they thought that if you didn't belly band them that they would get a hernia. So that was one of the reasons that they wore a belly band. So you have that piece, and then you also have this little piece right here. This is a little sack for an infant. The nice thing about this piece is it was made out of scraps. It is made of silk, but at the top up here you can see there is a nice little insert put in there where they had to piece this garment.
Interesting.
So the idea of putting silk on an infant that's going to be spitting up and making a mess was kind of interesting. It is awfully stained where it was quite used, but it is something that is used for a redo. They made do with what they
Scraps
had
of what
available.
she had.
Yes. Then the next piece we have is a nice little sack as well. It has a little coat sleeve on it, as far as different than the little pagoda sleeve. This is made out of a cotton piqué, and it's trimmed out. And this one is probably for maybe a 18-month-old to a 24-month-old child, maybe a little bit older than that, you know.
So as we're moving into the toddler range, we have quite a few from that age range.
Yes, we
And
do.
You said they could wear it a little bit longer, so I understand there's some great examples here of the growth tuck, so they could have that opportunity.
This garment right here is a garment that is very similar to what has been found in my research in different collections and museums. This one has no shoulder. The sleeve is actually part of the shoulder, and it has a bias band around the neckline. The sleeve is a bias cut sleeve so that it will stretch when you can, when the child moves around. It's on a bias.
And can you explain exactly what is the meaning of a bias?
The bias is where the fabric runs in a 45-degree diagonal of the warp and weft of the fabric. So if you have a selvage that runs down your fabric, it would be the 45-degree angle to the selvage.
And then that allows that stretching.
And that allows it to stretch, yes.
Which I'm sure is very beneficial for a child.
It is very beneficial. Then we have our next one that has the gathered neckline with the bias, but this one does have a shoulder on it. So this adjusting point right here with the neckline with these biases put on is something that I think would lend to being able to have the dress altered at a later time to make it a little bigger. It also has growth tucks at the bottom as well as the little dress over here on the right. It has the narrower growth tucks. This one has the larger ones. So that as the child is growing, they can let these tucks out and for the height. Yes.
Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about what a growth tuck is?
A growth tuck is a method of extending the life of a dress for a little girl. In the white garment, there are larger growth tucks. They're all hand stitched in. That whole garment is hand stitched.
And this one here has some different growth features in it.
This particular dress, this is I like to refer to this one and also the magenta one as a frock as opposed to a dress, because I have a feeling that it could have been used for either boys or girls. I've seen CDVs of children of both genders wearing this style of dress. And once again, you'll see that it has this ribboned neckline here, but this one is very fancy. It has the embroidery all around the edge, but this one also has no sleeve or shoulder. I mean, the sleeve is the shoulder, and it runs into the bias right here. It has tucks all along the front. It has a very wide hem in the bottom so that it can be let out, and it also has a very large seam or fold down to be able to let this garment out. They didn't want to detract from the embroidery that's on the bottom of the skirts. So they would have accommodated, instead of growth tucks, large hem and a large fold over so that they could redo that.
Great. Now, jump forward a little bit, and you said this is a adolescent, preteen range top.
Yes, it is.
Can you explain to us, how do you know that we're jumping forward to that age range with this particular
That
piece?
particular dress, that is a sheer dress, and it has a bodice liner in it. And the darting in the bodice liner would indicate that it would be for a young adolescent girl. It still buttons up the back. Okay. So that indicates to me that it is still a child's dress, not a young lady's dress.
Now, we have a wide range of materials here. Tell us a little bit about what the different materials are, and maybe the context of when and why they would be used, or what the benefit might be for the different materials.
As you can see, we have muslin, and that's a cotton. Then we have a cotton piqué. We also have a cotton muslin for the infant dress, and then this is a cotton calico, as well as a cotton calico there, and then a sheer lawn, which is a cotton. Those could all be laundered easily.
So if the wools and silks were meant to be laundered as often, were they for less heavy use, nicer?
They were for less heavy use. They were for Sunday. They would have been for parties or special occasions. The silk, that is definitely a party dress. That is a convertible type dress, so that it can be worn for a fancy party by taking the little chemisette out from underneath and wearing it with little short sleeves.
And the chemisette is?
That is the piece that's underneath.
Okay. Now, I know with Past Reflections, you draft patterns and sell those.
We do.
So the one behind us is an original.
This is the original that we drafted our ribbon dress pattern from. The bias along the top here gives a little bit. Then it has a waistband here. It is all whip gathered to the skirt and here. It doesn't have a lining in the top. It does have a nice big piece that runs down the side here to reinforce for wear and to give it more strength when the child's wearing it.
And it buttons
up the back.
Now, why did you choose, out of all these originals that you own, why was this one the one that you patterned?
This one was the most common piece that I had seen in the southeast Michigan and northern Ohio region. This particular one is very similar to one that's in the Wyandotte Historical Museum. It's similar to one that is in the Greenfield Village Museum collection. There's one in the Monroe County Museum. And then there was one at Kent State and one at Ohio State University. Okay. And they were almost identical, done in yellows and pinks like this. I believe this was a more vibrant color at one time. Could have been like a chrome yellow. But this particular one was the most common that I found in collections.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Civil War Digital Digest. We covered a lot of ground today with little girls' dresses. I know I always enjoy learning from Jackie, and I hope you did as well. If you did enjoy this episode, please like and share it out and show your support.